In this video, we'll be taking a look at 5 college football games happening on September 20th, 2025, and providing you with free team picks and total picks for each one of those games, so 10 picks in total. Welcome back to Cash Out Sports. Let's dive right into it. Oh, and don't forget to subscribe and to click the bell icon to get notified as soon as these videos get released, so that you have more time to plan out your bets as we provide these videos on a daily basis. I can guarantee that you'll have all the important information that you'll need on these 5 college football games after fully watching this video. One more thing before we start: if you would like to gain access to our best exclusive sports picks to take your journey to the next level, then check out our Patreon in the link down below, where we offer our best single picks, parlay picks, and much more. Now let's get started. Texas Tech versus Utah. The Texas Tech Red Raiders enter Week 4 with plenty of hype, but this is the first time they'll be asked to prove it in a true big stage environment. Joey McGuire's program poured money into resources in the offseason and returned one of the most experienced quarterbacks in the Big 12 in Baron Morton. Through 3 games, Morton has been outstanding, completing better than 70% of his passes while guiding an offense that has piled up over 150 points. The Red Raiders rank inside the top 10 nationally in both offensive success rate and early downs expected points added, showing the kind of efficiency that wins in today's game. The defense has been just as sharp on paper, also ranking top 10 in those same categories. That balance has vaulted Tech into the conference title conversation early, but skeptics can fairly point to their schedule. 2 of the 3 games came as 50-plus point favorites against Arkansas, Pine Bluff, and Kent State. The stats are impressive, but the context matters, and Salt Lake City will be an entirely different test. Utah, by contrast, is tested, physical, and built for moments like this. Kyle Whittingham's program has thrived in big games for nearly 2 decades, and this team looks every bit the part of a contender again. The defense under Morgan Scalley remains elite, top 20 nationally in efficiency, and capable of making any offense uncomfortable. But what makes this year's group especially dangerous is the offense. Quarterback Devin Dampier has been nothing short of spectacular, completing 73% of his passes with 8 touchdowns and no interceptions, while also adding 66 rushing yards per game. Combine that with an offensive line that is arguably the best in the nation, one projected to send 2 players into the first round of next year's NFL draft, and Utah has become a nightmare to defend. Their red zone efficiency is off the charts, scoring touchdowns on 15 of 16 trips, and they're converting third downs at a 72% clip. That consistency and balance make them a complete team, one built to exploit any defensive weakness. Texas Tech will challenge Utah's front with athletic linemen and talented linebackers, but this will be the best offensive line they've seen all season. For all the talk about Tech's defense, they've shown vulnerability to chunk plays, and Dampier's dual threat ability gives the Utes multiple ways to attack. Meanwhile, Utah's defense has the edge in physicality and will force Morton to win throws under pressure. Lubbock has been comfortable, but Rice-Eccles at night is one of the toughest atmospheres in college football, and Utah has already been tested with 2 road trips. That's a sharp contrast to a Red Raider squad that hasn't left home yet. As our first pick for this matchup, the Utah Utes to win and cover the spread as favorites is our full game side pick. On the total, this sets up as the kind of game where both defenses set the tone early. Big matchups often start tight as teams feel each other out, and that aligns with what we've seen from both sides. Top 20 nationally in defensive success rate and early downs efficiency. Texas Tech has feasted on bad defenses, but Utah is an entirely different caliber, and sustaining drives in Salt Lake City will not be easy. Utah's offense is efficient, but even they may take time to adjust against a Red Raider defense that's better than anything they've faced so far. Early possessions could lean conservative, with punts and field position battles creating a slower scoring pace. The number has already ticked down since the open, but there still looks to be room for this to land under. Utah has the defense to bottle up Tech's quick strike plays, and while Dampier and the Utes will eventually get theirs, the flow of this matchup points to points being harder to come by, especially in the first half. Add in the nerves and pressure of what feels like the Big 12's most important early season game, and we're looking at a grind more than a shootout. As our second pick for this matchup, under the projected total is our full game total pick. SMU versus TCU. The stage is set in Fort Worth for the final chapter of one of college football's oldest rivalries, as SMU and TCU clash in the last scheduled edition of the Battle for the Iron Skillet. Dating back to 1915, this series has been full of swings and momentum, but recent history has been dominated by the Horned Frogs, who've controlled things since the mid-90s. SMU has managed 3 wins in the last 5 years, including last season's stunning 66-42 victory in Dallas, but much of that game hinged on fluky factors. The Mustangs benefited from 5 TCU turnovers, 14 Horned Frog penalties, 3 defensive or special teams touchdowns, and a career day from running back Brashard Smith, who is now in the NFL. Replicating that type of lightning in a bottle performance in Fort Worth feels highly unlikely, especially given how much turnover this SMU roster has endured. This time around, the situational spot points strongly toward TCU. The Horned Frogs are off to a sharp start this season, ranking 7th nationally in turnover margin through 3 weeks and showing none of the sloppy habits that doomed them a year ago. Their offense has been electric, sitting 6th in predicted points added per play and 5th in yards per play, thriving under Chandler Morris and a deep set of skill position weapons. Finishing drives has been a strength too, something SMU has struggled with against real competition. Meanwhile, the Mustangs enter off a lethargic showing against Missouri State, one that looked like a classic look-ahead spot. They also dropped their earlier matchup against Baylor, and their defensive cracks have been evident. Quarterback Kevin Jennings has talent, but he's already been responsible for 8 turnover-worthy plays in 3 games, including 2 against an football championship subdivision opponent. Behind an excellent offensive line, he has time, but on the road in a sold-out Amon G. Carter Stadium, his decision-making will be tested against a Horned Frog defense that thrives on creating havoc. SMU's defense isn't the same unit that smothered TCU last season, and their penalty discipline has been among the worst in FBS so far, ranking 125th in flags per game. That combination of miscues, roster losses, and inconsistency at quarterback is a dangerous formula against a Horned Frog squad that's playing clean football and building confidence. The travel from Dallas to Fort Worth isn't far, but this is still the 2nd straight true road test for the Mustangs, and the atmosphere will be unlike anything they've seen this year. TCU should be able to control the tempo, protect the football, and extend drives against a Mustang defense that doesn't look as formidable as our first pick for this matchup. The TCU Horned Frogs to win and cover the spread as favorites is our full game side pick. As for the total, this rivalry has produced its fair share of fireworks, and the pieces are in place for another high-scoring affair. TCU's offense looks explosive, and with Hoover at the helm, they have the ability to put pressure on SMU from the opening drive. The Horned Frogs have been carving defenses with balance, ranking among the nation's leaders in both efficiency and explosiveness. SMU, for their part, has struggled to put it all together, but their offense is still capable of striking in bursts, particularly if Jennings avoids crippling turnovers. The Mustangs were held in check by Baylor, but against Missouri State they reminded us they can put up points against softer coverage. The problem is consistency, but in a rivalry setting with urgency, they should find some success. TCU has not yet been pushed to play 4 quarters, and if SMU can keep this respectable, we could see the Horned Frogs push to keep scoring late into the game. That's a recipe for points piling up. The Horned Frogs' efficiency inside the red zone, paired with SMU's vulnerability to penalties and busted coverages, makes the over appealing. Look for both teams to trade scores early, with TCU ultimately pulling away in the second half, but not before the scoreboard has been lit up. As our second pick for this matchup, over the projected total is our full game total pick. Syracuse versus Clemson. Syracuse and Clemson meet Saturday in Week 4 college football action at Clemson Memorial Stadium, and this matchup is shaping up to be a fascinating early Atlantic Coast Conference test. Syracuse comes in at 2-1 behind quarterback Steve Angeli, who has been one of the most productive passers in the country to this point. He's been efficient, accurate, and aggressive, spreading the ball around while showing poise in the pocket. Syracuse has leaned on his arm heavily, and the results speak for themselves with the Orange moving the ball consistently through the air. Clemson, on the other hand, has stumbled to a 1-2 start and looks like a team still trying to rediscover its identity. The Tigers have talent, but their offensive line has struggled. Their rushing attack hasn't imposed its will, and the defensive consistency hasn't been there against quality competition. This isn't the Clemson team that regularly regularly sat in the playoff picture. While they still have the ability to win 8 or 9 games, they don't look like a legitimate national contender. Syracuse's confidence on offense and Clemson's uneven play makes the spread look too high. Angeli gives the Orange a legitimate chance to keep this close, and if he's able to keep the turnovers down, Syracuse should be in position late. Don't be surprised if the Orange are driving with a chance to win in the fourth quarter. As our first pick for this matchup, the Syracuse Orange to cover the spread as underdogs is our full game side pick. Clemson's defense, while not elite, still has enough athletes to disrupt Angeli at times and make Syracuse work for every score. On the other side, Syracuse is capable of holding their own defensively, especially if Clemson's offensive issues continue. Both teams rank inside the top tier in defensive success rate and early downs efficiency, which usually leads to slower scoring stretches. With nerves, road noise, and conservative play calling in the early going, this matchup profiles as a grinder rather than a shootout. As our second pick for this matchup, under the projected total is our full game total pick. Oregon State versus Oregon. Oregon State steps into Autzen Stadium Saturday with an 0-3 start, bleeding yards and turnovers across the board. Their offense has been nearly non-existent on the ground, and their defense has given up over 38 points per contest. On the flip side, Oregon is rolling. They're undefeated at 3-0, averaging over 50 points per game, putting up more than 500 total yards per outing, and their defense has held opponents to low scoring while forcing positive turnover margin. Oregon ranks among the top in defensive havoc, while the Beavers rank quite low in that metric. Oregon State's quarterback Malek Murphy has thrown multiple interceptions, and their offensive line has allowed a high number of tackles for loss. Meanwhile, Oregon's red zone offense is nearly flawless, and their pass breakups and ability to force negative plays from opponents has been elite. Given all that, I don't see Oregon State being able to keep pace here. The numbers favor the Ducks heavily. In nearly every statistical category, they're significantly better, and this is a mismatch that looks likely to get ugly. I'd lean toward Oregon covering comfortably in their home stadium. As our first pick for this matchup, the Oregon Ducks to win and cover the spread as favorites is our full game side pick. If there's one wrinkle, it's that Oregon State has shown enough mild flashes to suggest a few scoring drives are possible. But with their turnovers, weak rushing attack, poor field position, and Oregon's ability to shut things down early, this game projects as one where Oregon can pull away. I anticipate a bunch of punts, drives ending in field goals or turnovers, and for Oregon to dominate possession and field position early, keeping things under control. The spread feels big, but not unreasonable given the gap. As our second pick for this matchup, under the projected total is our full game total pick. Notre Dame versus Purdue. The Purdue Boilermakers and the Notre Dame Fighting Irish square off Saturday at Notre Dame Stadium in a game that already feels like a turning point for both programs. Notre Dame is reeling after back-to-back tough losses, the most recent being a gut-wrenching 41-40 home defeat to Texas A&M, where a late pad attempt turned into the defining moment. Their defense, which has been a strength historically, just gave up 40-plus points and allowed big chunk plays against 2 of their first 3 opponents. That kind of vulnerability tends to get exposed even more against Big Ten competition. Meanwhile, Purdue enters 2-1 under Barry Odom, already showing progress from their 1-11 season last year. Their wins came against Ball State and Southern Illinois, but those don't exactly scream giant killer. Still, there are offensive sparks. Ryan Brown leads the team in passing yards, while RB Devin Mockabee is moving the chains on the ground, and their receivers like Armad Branch and Michael Jackson III are making plays. On defense, Purdue has had problems in the secondary and hasn't been forcing turnovers at a high rate, but they've shown flashes of keeping opponents in check when they stay disciplined. Notre Dame is still ranked, and despite their losses, they carry momentum from how they ended last season: long winning runs, strong cover history, and public trust. But that narrative only goes so far. The prices for the Irish are already steep. The spread opened large in many books, and it feels like bettors could be overvaluing reputation over recent performance. Purdue has everything to gain here: a statement win, confidence, and a chance to shake off last season's drag. I like the Boilermakers to cover this time, maybe even pull an upset if Notre Dame's defensive lapses continue. As our first pick for this matchup, the Purdue Boilermakers to cover the spread as underdogs is our full game side pick. On the total, this game might surprise people. Notre Dame tends to lean toward slow, methodical drives and tight defense, especially at home. But those recent defensive performances suggest they won't be able to compete completely suffocate Purdue's offense. Purdue has shown enough in their first 3 games to move the ball, even if not flawlessly, and the Irish, despite their struggles, still have offensive weapons. With both teams needing momentum, there's pressure to score and avoid punts. I expect the first half to be tighter, but second half scoring could pick up, especially if Purdue stays competitive and forces Notre Dame to open up. So while the number may feel a little high given recent Notre Dame games, I see value in the over here. As our second pick for this matchup, over the projected total is our full game total pick. That's all for now, so if you have any other games you would like reviewed, then leave a comment down below with the game you would like analyzed. Subscribe to our channel, leave a like on this video, and we'll get to it as soon as we possibly can. We would also love to hear your opinion on the picks presented to you in this video, whether you agree or disagree with them, so leave a comment down below and do let us know.